Assalamu alaikum, guys. I'm Shafina with the lovely Naseem, and this week's topic is stuck after divorce. Stuck after divorce, what does that mean? Tell me.
Um, it's a very, very big topic, but and it has a lot of facets, but we'll try and cover a couple of them today. So stuck for many reasons. So people who are married quite young in their 20s, I find they're still single in their 30s. And a lot of it is they just haven't mentally processed what's happened to them, or the fear of what happened to them in that relationship is stopping them from moving forward with somebody new. Um, they could be that they um, still love the person that they divorced. That was like their first love. Their heart can't actually take. They feel scared to be able to like give yourself.
Mm.
Obviously, that's a big deal as well. But there's many reasons for people being stuck in divorce, and it would be really great if we were able to help somebody out there listening who is stuck in divorce, and how to take steps to get yourself in a place where you understand what happened, break it down, maybe see a therapist, see someone professional, understand where you're stuck, understand where your triggers are, understand, the reasons why you are staying back from trying to find a serious relationship. Maybe people are happy chatting but don't want to commit because of what happened to them. There are many, many reasons. What's your thoughts on it, Shafina?
Well, I was just thinking, I mean, this is quite a deep topic. I know I've just gone stuck after divorce, but I was actually just thinking, are people stuck after divorce if they've chosen to get divorced, or is it the people that have been didn't want to get divorced and then someone else has divorced them, or is it just generally the whole process?
It's a combination of all the things. It's a combination of different people are divorced for different reasons. I spoke to a client who came home, thought she was happy in her marriage completely. And if anybody asks her how's marriage going, married life's going great, like really, really happy. Came home, put the key in the door, and the flat was completely empty. No furniture, no sign, just disappeared completely from nowhere. And obviously that was like a big trauma for her because she didn't even know something was wrong.
Just trying to imagine that. It's so she didn't know anything was wrong, and so I suppose if she didn't know anything that was wrong, it was on the person that felt a certain way and then probably wasn't able to communicate it through. Um, so what would you suggest for people? I mean, if they've gone through that, that's like they need counseling or support.
Definitely, definitely. They need to see a therapist, they need to go for counseling, um, they need to understand what's happened. And the biggest thing is, took me a bit of time working with this client, but she had to realize it wasn't her fault. She was blaming herself, trying to think all the things that she could have done wrong, second guessing everything, you know, and none of it was her fault because whatever was in his mind, he decided not to share or not to say anything about it. And if you're genuinely clueless and if you know, oh, you know what, we've not been happy, we've had a
Mm.
few fights and things have not been the best. So, she might be not happy about this and not happy about that, but not knowing anything at all and just coming home to a complete and utter mind shell shock is a lot to get over. So
Right.
yes, took good 6 to 8 months of sessions on a weekly basis for her to sort of feel little bits of her soul coming back and understanding and processing, okay, that happened to me. I was happy. I fulfilled all my rights as a wife. I kept in touch with his family. I, cooked and kept the house tidy. I took my responsibilities seriously. I took care of him. Um,
Mm.
and if there wasn't even a look or a feeling or, anything at all that something's wrong
Mm.
here, then
Yeah.
he's blameless because whatever the reasons been, it could be a number of reasons. Maybe he wasn't in the relationship, wasn't engrossed in the relationship in the first place. He wasn't committed in the relationship in the first place, and he just didn't want to say the marriage had happened. He thought, like, well, I'm here now, rather.
Yeah.
So you don't know the person's intentions or what they're thinking, but yeah, and mashallah, she's And she did say to me that had I not, had I not sat with you and gone through this and broken this down, I probably would have been stuck in this
Stuck, yeah.
mindset for years. And I do speak to people that, many, many people on a constant basis that got married in their 20s, 10 years later in their 30s, they're still single. They still haven't married.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about it now with people I've come across, for example, and there that does happen. They've gone through a divorce, and then it's like a number of years have gone by, and they've not quite gone into it, not gone into getting to know anyone else because they're still either stuck or traumatized or going over the story that happened, questioning everything. And it is a shame. I mean, how that's great that, for example, you're giving sessions and you do support sessions for people like that, and you know within the year, less than a year, they're back to finding themselves and who they are and everything, and hopefully able to. So they able to move on. Then I'm asking, like, are they in that kind of level? Are those
Yeah,
people that?
yeah, they're back to basically when someone leaves you like that, your self-worth just
Mm,
drops completely because you rely on that person. You've been dependent on that person, and in your mind's eye, you're spending the rest of your life with this person.
mm,
And sometimes it's easier, I think, if you know the reasons. Like, for example, some of the recent support sessions I've done is the relationship wasn't good. She knew
mm,
that. She knew that it was challenging. She knew
mm,
his family didn't get on with her. She wasn't accepted. So she knew the reasons. So if you know the reasons, you can handle the reasons. You just need to figure out your triggers. And even she said at the end of her sessions that she feels
mm.
more confident now than she's ever done. And the problems and issues that she's had in her previous marriage, she won't bring into her next marriage. And she's even realized some things that she can do better through the support sessions.
Yeah. So I have a question, actually. So when somebody is going, or they've gone through a divorce, how do they know that they're stuck? I mean, how much time? Because obviously you need time to recover. It's not something like, oh, I'm divorced, and the next day, okay, let me move on with my life. Um, so, like, I mean, how much time do you think it would take for someone to realize that she sort of stuck?
Yeah. They don't even know they're stuck. They're,
Right.
they're so busy. So one of the exercises I do is I get someone to close their eyes and I describe three situations. And they have to think about which situation is connects to them most. That lets me know like where they are in life.
Mm,
When they give me an exam and say, all right, I'm in like, are you in room one, are you in room two, are you in room three? In their mind's head, they say, oh, you know what, I'm in this room. I can tell where they are, like where they are on their journey. Um,
mm,
in terms of, are they close to the end? Are they still stuck in the beginning? Some people can be like 6, 7 years on, still stuck in the beginning, still stuck in that same loop. It's like one of those circles that just keeps going round and round. And
wow.
so many years have passed, but they're still stuck in that same loop. So it's a case by case individual basis, I would say.
Right. Okay. So they wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I suppose if anyone's watching this right now and that they are divorced and maybe it's been a little while and maybe they don't even know that they're possibly stuck. Maybe this might be a wake up call, well, not a wake up call, but for them to maybe like say, maybe it's been a number of years or a little while, perhaps I should get back in there or try and talk to or reach out to Naseem, she's got plenty of great people to speak to, or just find out, maybe do a session with you,
Hmm. Hmm.
see where that and find out if they are actually stuck or not.
I'm happy to do a first session free. So if anybody does want to reach out, our details are in the link below. So happy to do that just to let them know where I think they're at and if I can help them. Because at the end of the day, I can only help somebody who wants to be helped. If you don't want my help, or and again, different people will connect with different therapists. So people have gone through my coaching and my support, I've always said that I definitely feel better than I did beforehand. I've actually realized what's happened. I've realized my strengths. I've realized what I need to do next.
Mm,
So if you've got somebody you're going, some people have came to me and said, oh, I've gone to, I don't know how many sessions, and they're stuck in the sessions,
mm,
but they're not connecting to the therapist, or they're not able to relax enough and open up about what's going on, or maybe they're hurting still too much and they need
mm,
time to grieve. It depends on what stage that person comes along at. But understanding, the first stage of understanding the hurt and the pain, then the anger, all the different stages that there are.
Mm,
If you can work through them and understand,
mm,
excuse me, and understand where you're at, you can definitely cope with your situation better. And yeah, you can't blame the last person for the next, the next person for the last person's mistakes. So you want to make sure that you've got a clean break, and you do need to have a bit of a gap. You can't come into out one relationship and jump into another.
mm,
That's why they call it rebound, because
yeah.
rebound relationships are the worst kind of relationships, because it's just a prop for a short while, and they unfortunately never last.
Yeah, it just made me sort of reflect on some situations and decisions in life. You definitely need time to heal. You need time to have that break. Otherwise, there is such a thing called rebound, and that's never a good thing. You're not making the best choices. So that's good that actually people can sort of recover. It's good to know that, say, if someone is listening to this and they are like, I've been divorced and that's it. I've had my marriage, it didn't work out, khalas, it's not like that. Actually, there is time for you to, sort of recover, figure out who you are, and then sort of go forward. And there are actually people out there that you can meet and actually marry the right person or the more suitable person for yourself. I think it's good as well to know that this is that this does happen, because sometimes in the community I feel that they just think, oh, you're divorced now, nobody wants you. But then when we look at our religion, um, there are examples in the Sunnah side of things, like where people were divorced and they remarried.
Yeah, yeah. I was listening to Beyond just in the masjid there. I think one of the days this week, the Sheikh
Yeah.
was saying that it was common for the Sahaba to marry and divorce. There was no stigma. If you marry somebody that didn't work for you, at least you were married to that person.
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't a fit for them, they weren't a fit for you. When you actually got into married life, it wasn't working. And it's much smarter to come out of that rather than stay years and years, which has a much more negative effect on your heart in a relationship where you're not valued, or you're not loved, or you're not trusted, or you don't feel you belong. All these things are very important.
That is so interesting that you've said that, because from what I've seen, the stigma and things like that, it's like uh divorce is, the last resort, and it's the most horrible decision to make. Obviously, I'm not saying go out there to come with the intention to get divorced, of course not. But they put such a big thing, and people are fighting and holding on to something that really is not, it's just really, really not the right thing. And they just hold on to this whole thing that, no, you get married once and that's it, and it should be like that, and you should go through hell to try and make it stay. But for me, I've always thought that our beliefs should be quite logical. And if we think with a rational head, take our time and be like, okay, this really isn't the best situation. So what are we doing? You know?
Yeah.
Um,
I think that there is a lot of stigma attached to it, and there's a lot of hurt attached to it as well. And some people don't leave because they don't want to be labeled a divorcee. They'd rather stay than be have to face people and say that they're divorced. Do you get me? There are
yeah,
people who they actually live separately. They don't tell anyone. They're still married, but they just buy a separate house, live separately. I don't know how many people I've spoken to when I speak to parents and they say, "Oh, my mom and dad live in separate houses. They're still married, but they're separated because they can't live together, but they won't divorce." Does that make sense? And that's, if that works for them, that works for them.
yeah,
But it's a sad situation that people feel that, I can't have the label of divorce on me.
it's sorry, this might be a bit off topic, but I feel like it's 2023, or we're quite advanced in the years, and I feel like our mindset is so behind. I feel like back before, when Islam was around, they were much more advanced and much more logical and much more, I feel like, almost educated. Does that make sense
Oh
in
no,
terms
these are educated people. Some people is, the thing, I don't know if you agree with me or not, is there's a thing out there that people say, what will people say? What will the neighbors say? What will people in the community say? People who are bothered about that are
of,
very bothered about what their reputation. It's all back to reputation. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from. Very much they label it against their
yeah,
reputation.
I hear you on that, and I have heard about people start talking about reputation and what other people will think and what they say, and they are more concerned about that than anything else that goes on inside the home, and it is quite sad. I suppose this is where I'm a total different character. Where at the end of the day, you've got to live with yourself, and your life is way too short to stay in this any situation that you're not happy in or doesn't sit right with you, doesn't resonate with you. When you have certain feelings or that intuition, it's not a made up thing. It's not a new phase thing that is going around right now. It's something that was there that I think is from God. This is my own belief, where that feeling from inside is there. It's an intuition. It's
Yeah.
there. It's been gifted. Use it. Please use it. And if something isn't right, and if you're doing this istikhara, if anyone I would say is stuck or confused, istikhara it helps you make decisions in life. I know we've kind of gone a bit off topic because the whole point was being stuck after divorce. Um, but maybe there's people there that are separated and they're stuck.
Yeah.
Maybe that's another thing as well. Like you're not quite divorced, but you're stuck, and maybe you're living separately. Okay, there's parents like you mentioned that do that, but maybe there's people with our generation just kind of like stuck. They're not quite divorced. They're in limbo land. They can't move on. They can't move forward. They're living like this really sad double life, where Islam doesn't say that's not the thing to do. So if you want to go about it and actually what's more important, the society today or whatever, or your actual beliefs.
Mm.
And I'm sure, I mean, I guess this goes into another topic where God loves his people,
Mm.
70 times more, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, more than your mom.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
he doesn't want us to suffer.
Yeah.
He wants us to suffer in something where we're really not happy. And if you're really not happy somewhere, you can't, like, it's, it's, you can't say stuck in that. It's sad, sorry, to hear that people are sort of separated and no one's going anywhere. They're just trapped.
Mm. Mm. It is really sad. And
Yeah.
and again, there's many cases where people are stay together, and you've heard it so many times, stay together for the sake of the children.
Mhm.
But children are smart, do you get me? So if they know that mom and dad are not happy, they're probably better off. The kids are better off knowing that mom and dad are happy separately than living in the same house and upset every day, you know?
Well, my parents split when I was younger. And as an adult now looking at things, and maybe it was the better choice, my mom had to do what she had to do to look after herself, and that's fine. Obviously, unfortunately, my father's not alive anymore, but I still love my dad till this day. I still, he was my father.
Mm.
I'm half him. There's a lot of qualities and traits that I have is part of where it comes from him a lot, and that's fine. But I think had she stayed, it would have been a very different upbringing for us.
Mm.
So she did the right thing, I feel. Kids, I say this as well to some people, that some friends that I have, and they do worry about, yeah, you know, um, their children and stuff. I'm like, they'll be fine, you know,
Mhm.
they'll be fine. As long as no one needs to sort of brainwash children against each parent or something. It's just if the adults are not okay, you don't want to stay in something and then think the children think this is okay, this is acceptable
Yeah.
to have a relationship like this. That doesn't work.
Mhm.
What are you teaching them? They're smart. They pick up things. They can use phones at the age of 1 or something. So yeah, it's very interesting. So yeah, I guess so the main thing is there are people that are stuck after divorce. Support can be they can receive support from yourself. If anyone is listening to this, they can get a free session just to see where they're at. Maybe you don't even know you're stuck. Um, and there are plenty of other people. It's not just you that is stuck. There are plenty of other people, lots of them, stuck for 5 years, 10 years after. But nonetheless, it's never too late to get support, right? To
If you're not divorced and you're
mm,
stuck in your relationship, there's ways to rekindle your relationship. There are ways to rebuild your relationship.
mm,
So if both parties are willing, and they're willing to look at it things from water under the bridge. Okay, what's happened before today? They're both willing to draw a line in the sand, basically, and say, right, from today we're starting fresh. Sit and apologize for any wrongs they've done to each other or things they could have done better, and make a plan for what each other wants out of life,
mm,
and what's missing for the other person. Be verbal about it. I think a lot of people don't talk about it, don't talk about what's missing. they may be embarrassed, they don't get the affection, or they don't get the freedom, or they don't get the support, or their dreams are not supported, or certain decisions for children, they're not given the options, whatever they are. They'll be the smallest of things that can create the biggest of cracks,
Mm.
and it's identifying what that is and being able to sit and say. And I teach something called the sandwich effect. So you say something good, you talk about your problem in the middle, and you say something good on the end. And one of my clients, he came back to me. He had sessions a couple of years ago, and he came back to me and said, "I've been using sandwich effect with everybody I talk to, and I've
Yeah.
not had a fight in, like, I think I've mentioned this before.
You did mention this, yeah.
He's not had a fight in 2 years, because every situation he uses a sandwich effect. So if you are going to be aware of how you come across, that's a big part of staying in a relationship. How that person makes you feel in conversation, how valued, how trusted, how cared for you feel, regardless of what the issues and problems are. When it's all a big fight and it's a blame game and you're this and you're that, all of these things. And there's
Okay.
many aspects of it. Like when I teach in my environment for getting to know companion, I talk about your two hands and his two hands, and your marriage just needs to be a circle of your two hands, and no one else should be in that circle. So as you
No
get
one
somebody,
else.
if someone else comes into that circle, you allow your mom or your siblings or your best friend or somebody, your marriage will not survive. It has to be what he needs from you, and you need from. So talking to people, especially ladies, they want to talk to their best friend, they want to like let off steam, blah blah blah. Sit with your partner, tell him how you feel, tell him, ask him, could you possibly do this and this and this to make my life easy. Come to him with a solution, as opposed to just ranting about it, feeling sorry for yourself and doing nothing about it. All you're going to be doing is stuck in that circle.
Mm.
Sure. Yeah, so there's repair out there, but it's how much the couple want to make it happen, and how much they value each other. You have to value that person. You have to understand what they do for you. And there is, like, even one of the hadiths that I read recently, was Hazrat Umar. He was going to complain about his wife, and he stood outside the tent, and he didn't mean to listen in, but the Prophet, peace be upon him, was already in the tent talking to some other guy who's like, "Oh, my wife is this, my wife is that, my wife is this." He goes, "Okay." He goes, "From all the things you're complaining about, tell me four things that you like about your wife." "Oh, she looks after the kids, she keeps it home, she takes care of me." He goes, "So you're coming to him with this one complaint." He goes, "You need to let go of this complaint and
Mm.
focus on the four things that are good about your marriage. Please don't focus on the one thing." We just, as humans, we just default to the negative thing. There could be all this amazing stuff happening in our marriage, but we default to the negative thing. And
Mm.
then Hazrat Umar said, I hung my head in shame, and I didn't even go in to the tent to speak to the Prophet, peace be upon him. I went home to fix my marriage. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the stories of the Sahaba Ikram, listening to the Seerah right now, going through it in Ramadan, it really, really useful for me. Lots of things I'm learning that I didn't even know. And I taught the Seerah of the Prophet, peace be upon him, at kids level at Masjid. But now I'm going into to in a much deeper level, into much deeper stories, and their stories are getting expanded of like how life was back then, and when Islam came to us, how the Sahaba Ikram took everything and tried to apply it to their lives. So it is, if you look at the Quran, it's a book of guidance, and people don't realize how big a book of guidance it is. The words you read, and I'm going to remember and send you a link. There's a link that's
Yes, I was
like
just about to. I was letting you talk, but I want this.
yeah, the link, I've been using it through Ramadan, and it's got the transliteration, which means it's in English. If you press a button and it says it in Arabic for you, so you get the pronunciation, and then it's in Arabic as well. So transliteration, English, and the English translation of what it means. So
Yeah.
all four, and it's so good. So I'm doing
Mm.
some work with a person who's looking to revert to Islam just now, and so I was sending her. So I have like a weekly session with her. So I was sending her these links, and she's just like interested in learning about Islam. Oh, let's talk to you. Like
Yeah.
this is. I said Islam is submission. I said, so if you think you're ready and you want to do this, you're actually being really smart, learning about it before you accept Shahada, because you know what's on the other side. Do you get me?
Mm.
So if you think you have to start fasting straight away, or praying straight away, or just singing and dancing everything straight away, no, you don't. Like, it's all done step by step, stage by stage, and Allah will help you. Your shahada's a very powerful thing. Allah will help you with everything else. And there's practice, like we do with kids. I don't remember when you're little, you used to keep like a part-time fast for a few hours just to,
Half fast
yeah.
up until like 12 o'clock or something.
Yeah, you skip breakfast, and then as you get older, you skip breakfast and lunch, and so on and so forth. So, if anybody understands Urdu or Punjabi, my mom used to call it a chiri roza, which meant if you saw a bird, if you're really hungry, you went into the garden to find a bird, and then you could eat.
No way.
So if you had to spot a bird, and then you could eat. So it was like it's quite a cool way of like teaching and fasting. So yeah, so you just do a chili rosa will help you do it, and you just gradually learn to fast, and you'll be fine.
Cute.
And there's a lot of like people when you speak to people who don't fast. Obviously, we fast for our 30 days. They'd be thinking, oh, how do you guys do that? But then you look at all these videos of people doing intermittent fasting, which are 18 hours. You're like, how can you do that?
Yeah, no, you're actually purposely doing that. At least we go according to the year and the time of country or whatever we are. Yeah.
So yeah, so alhamdulillah. No, sorry, I completely gone off topic. So yeah, so back to being stuck. What do you think are the main reasons that you've heard? Like obviously you work with a lot of people yourself as well. You've got a big community of people that you work with. What do you think the key reasons that you've heard, or ladies that have spoken to you, or family have spoken to you, why they were stuck, or why they were stuck after divorce, or the reasons for their divorce?
So yes, I just remembered, at one point I used to be a mental health support worker. And I had clients back then and everything like that. And I just remember a situation in particular where the husband had been gone for a number of years, but she still classified her as still married. So, I guess it was a long time ago. You just kind of forget these things. And I just think actually it's something that actually does exist, and it doesn't make any sense because a marriage is a marriage, not if you guys are living separately. Just for me, I'm like, you're not together. This isn't a marriage. So what are people doing? Instead, this person is holding on to them so they can just have that hold over them. It's really weird. I think that was a bit of a different generation and a bit of a different culture as well to me. So, but they seemed as normal. And I think, God, this is not Islam. None of
Mm.
this is Islam. This is like some cultural weird hold on things. So I've seen that. And I also have friends that have been single for, they were not seeing anyone or anything like that, getting to know anyone. And they were single for many years. Even if their marriage was very short and not, like not that long, but the damage that it had caused them mentally and emotionally, they questioned why over and over. And, they never moved on from that, and they still, that whole thing.
Mm.
And I guess it is tough because it is a big impact. Everyone waits for this day that they're going to get married. And the thing is, I've had girlfriends and guy friends. It's not just the girls that feel stuck. There are guys that have been stuck too
Mhm.
after they've had a divorce and they've not quite got to grips of getting to thinking to get to know anyone else until years later. And
Mm.
then they're finally like, okay, now I'm ready. Because
Mm.
actually, the damage that happens mentally and emotionally is not just on women, it's men too, but men don't really talk about it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't think it's
No,
discussed as
they don't. Yeah.
they really don't. And I was shocked because one of my friends, uh, who is a guy, and I didn't really realize that he was stuck. I didn't until years had gone by and I realized this person, I've never seen him with anyone, like, and then they mentioned, oh, I'm now getting to know people. And I was like, oh my gosh, this person was stuck. And I didn't even know that, when it's just your friend, you don't really like, you don't think too much, but they had gone through a thing. They never really opened up about it, but they had to deal with it in however they dealt with it. But now, alhamdulillah, they're moving on thinking, okay, now's my time. But it would be sad for me to feel that there's people stuck for that long.
Mm.
Life is too short, and I wish for anyone that is stuck to really reach out, get some help, and just know that you don't deserve to be stuck at all.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're not complete until you find someone. You're complete on your own, but life is nicer to share with someone,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're designed that way. So you shouldn't have to feel bad that um that you want someone in your life. You know what I mean? Like, you're not being sometimes I think people might think, "Oh, I've been married once as well, so what's the point? You know, my time is done now." You know, this kind of stuff that the shaitan will get into your head and plant in
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah, this is not the way. You know, you can heal, and there are plenty of people out there that marry divorced people.
mm.
Sometimes I feel people have this perception that I'm divorced now. Oh, no one's gonna want me. You know what I mean? Like no one else is gonna want me now.
Or they hang about with people who are going to make them feel that way. So their circle of people affects their mindset. So even one of the posts that I put up this morning on my status
Mhm.
is a dua from Mufti Mink, who's making the dua to say that, look, Ya Allah, if you can save Hazrat Yunus from the belly of the whale, if you can give the prophets children at such late age in their life, save Hazrat Ibrahim from the fire and cool the fire, if you can do all of that, you can give me anything, you know so before you raise your hands, you know that Allah Ta'ala can give you anything. If you don't believe that Allah Ta'ala can help you, it just back to everything. It just goes back to your faith. If you don't believe that Allah Ta'ala is going to can't help you, He was not going to help you. And
Yeah.
in your own life, if you feel whoever you're spending time with, whatever you put your mind to, whether it's work, whether it's relationships, whatever project you're working on, if you believe it's not going to work, newsflash, not going to work. You
So
have
that
to believe it's going to work.
yeah. So if you're stuck after divorce, you got to believe that you're going to be unstuck.
Yes, you got to, if you are stuck, and to realize, am I stuck or am I just happy where I am, which is fine, you
Mhm.
know?
Yep.
But if I'm not stuck, then what do I want my next relationship to look like? So maybe sometimes it's lessons learned that I don't want to be choosing someone like this, or I don't want to be choosing. I don't know how many people I speak to in a day that say, "Oh my God, there were so many red flags. Like, why did I not pick up even one of them?" I'm like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many red flags. Even yesterday, I think I had about 6 conversations, red flags all the way, but I still married that person, you know? So now I think much more aware of the red flags for sure.
So I suppose on that note, it is common for people to marry people with red flags and for other people to say that if you're stuck after divorce and think, oh, I made a silly decision. Why did I do that? Please note you're not on your own.
Yeah,
There are other people who've done that. You're human. You know, you make certain choices and things like that. But this time around, you become more educated, more aware, more understanding. There are questions as well that we're going to be going through on the podcast. I think we can start them on the next one
yeah.
with regards to what to look for before getting married, what to
What
ask for
question to ask?
before. Yeah, what questions, a number of those questions. So maybe we'll break them down each time
Yeah.
and get on that. So I think we'll leave it here.
Yep, definitely.
And yeah, and so we'll look into next week's episode. I hope everyone has gained something from here. If you are stuck, please reach out to Naseem at Personal Match UK. I'll put the details in the description, and hopefully you'll be unstuck. And if you have any friends or family and things like that, the support is there. And inshallah, you know,
Yeah, the power of the mind is a very important thing. If you can get yourself from a place of sadness to a place of happiness, automatically you'll want to find someone to share your life with. So it's definitely shifting the mindset. So if anybody is listening, it's a genuine offer. If I can help you, please reach out. I'd love to be able to do something. So any good deeds, keep them coming. We need them. We need them so much. But Shafina, it was great catching up with you as always. I look forward to the next episode on Road to Happiness. And as always, pleasure catching up with you. Thank you for everyone for listening to us. And again, keep sending your recommendations and your topics that you want us to talk about, and we'll keep them coming, inshallah.
inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Hey.
Thank you so much for taking the time out to listen to this podcast. If you found this beneficial, give this video a like and hit the subscribe button to be notified for the next episode.